Hello, hello, my fellow bookworms and bibliophiles, and welcome to Squirrel's Bookshelf. I'm Jess, head squirrel, and this is Marley. He's not a squirrel. But don't tell him that. Welcome to episode 1 of my banned book series, where we talk about the stories behind the stories and walk through identifying those first editions and early publications. Today's banned beauty? The Handmaid's Tale by Margaret Atwood. Now, not only is this episode 1 of this series, but this is actually my first YouTube video on this channel. So, hope y'all enjoy it. If you love books and want to learn more about them, please hit that subscribe button below and ring the bell to receive notifications when new videos are posted. Readers around the globe are celebrating the release of Margaret Atwood's newest book, The Testaments. I, of course, pre-ordered my copy. No, I cannot tell you how excited I am. I'm kind of nervous to read it. Also, as a graphic designer, I have to say I'm in love with this design. I mean, like, look at that detail. It's so cool. This long-awaited sequel has come at, frankly, a very appropriate time. Not only with an award-winning TV show having dug a little bit deeper into the realm of Gilead for a few seasons now, although Atwood has made it clear that the Testaments are completely separate from the TV show, taking place 16 years in the future with almost an entirely different cast of characters, but also with a lot of unease and uncertainty in the political climate. But let's go back to where this all began, with The Handmaid's Tale. For those of you unfamiliar with the story, The Handmaid's Tale is a dystopian novel set in near-future New England, now called the Republic of Gilead, in a world that's in the middle of a fertility crisis, where a Christian-based totalitarian state has overthrown the US government. The main character, Offred, has witnessed this overtake of government and is subsequently ripped from her family and forced into being a handmaid for an elite family, meaning that her job is to become pregnant in order to give a child to this family who is unable to have their own, which involves this routine sexual ceremony, and it's just as fun as it sounds. Not to mention, women in this world are not allowed to have any sort of independence on their own. They're not allowed to have a bank account. They're not allowed to read. That is my idea of hell. Anyway, I'm not going to go much more into the plot now, because I'm assuming if you're watching this video, you've either read the book already, or you at least have some interest, in which case, read the book. Instead, let's get to the story behind the story. In the spring of 1984, Atwood began writing this novel while living in West Berlin. Now, the Berlin Wall was still up, and the Soviet Empire was still 5 years away from crumbling. As Atwood wrote for an article in the New York Times, every Sunday the East German Air Force made sonic booms to remind us of how close they were. During my visits to several countries behind the Iron Curtain, Czechoslovakia, East Germany, I experienced the wariness, the feeling of being spied on, the silences, the changes of subject, the oblique ways in which people might convey information. And these had an influence on what I was writing. Now, Atwood understood just how quickly and easily things could change, having essentially begun life in the middle of World War II. But Atwood had never written anything like this. By this point, she had had 5 novels under her belt, along with multiple other books of poetry, short fiction, children's books, and nonfiction. But she'd never written science fiction, or more accurately, speculative fiction. She hadn't broached the idea of utopias and dystopias, and honestly, she wondered whether she could even pull it off. She actually delayed writing it for 3 solid years after getting the initial idea. Of course, the book became award-winning and was even shortlisted for the 1986 Booker Prize. Its sequel has followed suit, by the way. Stay tuned for the 2019 results. So being part of this series of videos, it goes without saying that this book was banned. Of course it was banned, or at least challenged in several schools across the US, mostly for its disturbing sex scenes and appearing to be anti-Christian, which it really isn't necessarily. In fact, The Handmaid's Tale was on the American Library Association's list of top 100 banned books in the entire decade for both the 1990s and the 2000s, which just elevates it further in my opinion. Nothing's sexier than a banned book. Jump to 35 years later, and The Handmaid's Tale has been given a place next to 1984 and Brave New World as one of the most influential dystopian fictions of all time. And there's a very good reason why. As she sat and wrote this novel, originally in longhand on yellow legal notepads, she self-imposed one distinct rule. She, quote, would not put any event into the book that had not already happened, nor any technology not already available. No imaginary gizmos, no imaginary laws, no imaginary atrocities. God is in the details, they say. So is the devil. And it's completely true. The modesty clothing worn by the women of Gilead was taken not only from totalitarian regimes throughout history who have used clothing as a means of both identifying and controlling people, either by banning or enforcing specific items of clothing, but also from Western religious iconography, which makes sense given the fundamentalist Christian setting. The wives were blue, representing purity, and the handmaids were red, representing the blood of childbirth, but also connecting with Mary Magdalene. The bonnets that hide the handmaids' faces have an interesting origin. Now, Atwood has admitted that they partially come from mid-Victorian costumes and nuns, but also apparently from a 1940s package of old Dutch cleaner that scared her as a kid. I don't blame her. She also took from historical influences such as the decline of fertility in Chinese men and the Salem witch trials. Fun fact! One of the people the book is dedicated to is Mary Webster. Now, Mary Webster was the girl in Connecticut who was hanged for being a witch, but survived. They hadn't invented the drop platform yet, and so she didn't actually die when she was hanged. Mary Webster also happens to be the ancestor of Margaret Atwood. However, Atwood wasn't solely influenced by history. She was also influenced by the atmosphere of the 1980s themselves, a decade in which she recounts there were already pushbacks to the gains in feminism from the 1970s. People were already saying that they would like to reverse all of this, that they would like women to be back in the home in their rightful sphere. And since its publication, Atwood has noticed more things from her book happening in the real world. Yeah, there apparently was a spin-off Catholic sect that decided to call its women handmaids. Yeah. Another fun fact, though, it wasn't originally called The Handmaid's Tale. So what was the original title? Offred, the name given to the central character, named such as she is the servant of Fred, her master. But this too had roots in the real world. Think of Italian surnames using D, or, von in German. I mean, even English has the suffix son, like Williamson, all used to denote of, or, in this case, belonging to. But Atwood was oh so clever. There was another meaning behind Offred. It was terribly close to the word offered, as in religious offering, or, victim of sacrifice. Along the way, though, the title was changed to The Handmaid's Tale. In part, this was to honor Geoffrey Chaucer's The Canterbury Tales, with stories such as The Knight's Tale and The Miller's Tale. But it was also reflective of fairy tales and folk stories that were centered around a single character going through unbelievable experiences. So in a nutshell, that's the origin of the story. Now, what does the first edition look like? Now, most fans of the book are probably familiar with a copy that looks like this. This was actually only the first American edition, published by Houghton Mifflin in 1986. The first UK edition, published by Jonathan Cape also in 1986, used the same image on the dust jacket, as did the first paperback edition. But the true first edition? The Canadian edition. After all, Margaret Atwood is a Canadian author. That's right, it was originally published by McClellan and Stewart in 1985. The surreal dust jacket was designed by Tad Aronowitz, and the backside featured a photo of Margaret Atwood. Now, the book actually went into a second printing a full week before the first edition was published. This one has no mention of the second printing, so it's a genuine first. And it's all mine. My copy is also not price clipped, so you can see that it was originally priced at $22.95. Canadian dollars, of course. And that's all I have for you today. Keep watching to the end of the video for your daily dose of doggy cuteness. But just before then, if you liked learning about The Handmaid's Tale, please hit that like button below and don't forget to subscribe to learn about more bookish things in the future. If you have any suggestions for future videos on anything book related, feel free to leave your thoughts in the comments below. And shameless plug, if you're looking for ways to display your love of books, or if you're searching for gifts for a book lover, please check out my Etsy shop, Ex Libris Artifacts, where I actually recycle books that are worn well beyond repair into pendants, which you can actually customize into different types of necklaces and keychains. This one is actually for sale, and it's from a 1924 edition of The Story of Peter Pan. Now this is on an adjustable leather cord necklace, but you can get a chain, you can get a ribbon, just check it out. There's a link in my description. And finally, a very special thank you to my friend Daniel Hines, who did all of the music in this video. To check out more of his incredible work, please see the link in the description below. Until next time, keep on reading, and here's Tia to introduce your daily dose of doggy cuteness. Hey honey? Have you seen my book anywhere?